Dear Mr. President, certain things that want to be said to you, but one of them is about this Ebola quarantine facility. Now, from what we understand so far, that the court said Ebola facility, no.
Nope.
But that doesn't seem to carry much water. And interestingly enough, that the CS Health was actually in court and he actually begged for forgiveness.
Yeah.
But then for some reason, it seems as though this Ebola quarantine facility is still there. So I'm very confused as to what the whole court begging thing was about and whether or not court orders still stand in this. Unless I was living under a rock for a couple of weeks and didn't really understand or was not aware that perhaps those conservatory orders were lifted and that the quarantine facility could then go ahead in terms of establishment. Did that happen?
It didn't happen.
No?
You see...
No, for real. Conservatory orders to then stop the establishment of a quarantine facility in Laikipia did not happen.
And it does. The court order hasn't been lifted; still remains.
Okay.
So that means anything that is happening in Laikipia, especially when it comes to the setting up of that facility, is illegal because the court has said no brakes on it.
It might then interest you to know that the United States established a 50-bed bio-isolation quarantine facility in central Kenya. And we're talking about Laikipia. Under a new U.S. policy, Americans returning from the DRC must complete 21 days of quarantine in a third country before returning to the U.S. The first occupants, so not only was it established, but the people who are actually occupying this isolation space are 7 American aid workers from Samaritan's Purse who had been helping with the Ebola response in the DRC. They are not sick and are being monitored as a precaution during Ebola's incubation period. Sawa?
Yeah.
All right. So the quarantine facility exists. Under the new American law, you must then, as an American coming back to the US, having been in contact or in the Ebola working space, must then quarantine for 21 days to ensure that you don't have the thing. If you do, then they take measures from there. Of what is concerned to Kenyans, the facility has generated significant public debate because many Kenyans fear it could increase the country's risk of Ebola.
Yeah.
Civil society groups and residents have challenged the project in court. Reports indicate a court-ordered construction halted, although the project has remained contentious. Now, the court order halted the establishment of this quarantine facility, but the 7 American, not patients, but, subjects of interest, they're being housed at a 50-bed bio-isolation facility. So which one is it? And these are the questions that people are concerned about.
My greatest concern is this country is ruled by the rule of law, right? It's run by the rule of law. It is what determines what you do today, what you do tomorrow, right? Or rather, it's sad that it now borders a should, But the thing is, the country is run by the rule of law. But when you look at the setting up of this quarantine facility where Kenyans have had concerns, why? Exactly because public participation didn't take place. Kenyans were not involved in that process, which is a requirement, which is a legal requirement by the law. And even Kenyans themselves have said, based off what we want as a country, what we want as a people, we don't want this facility here because it is a danger to our livelihoods. But you see, someone decides to proceed with that against the requirement of the Constitution, but someone goes to court, petitions the court, and the court says, no, don't do that. Cabinet secretary invited, court orders are not respected. The gentleman comes forth and begs for forgiveness. Please, tafadhali nisame for today. I will not repeat again, Your Honor. Your Honor says what sawa na usitumie. Hiyo itakuwa funzo kwa wengine wenye tabia kama ya. But what are we being told today? That facility that the court said no to has been set up because there are individuals who are being housed there in this quarantine facility in this very location that the court said no. And we are here asking the question, who is playing ping pong? At what point will we respect the law? At what point will we respect Kenyans and the decisions they want for themselves?
So that actually takes us into our question for today, is that, are you tired? The headline on the Standard today is linking this possible exhaustion to politics. Things fall apart is the headline on the Standard, in case you missed that earlier. And that, referencing another Chinua Achebe novel, the No Longer at Ease, Kenyans are, another literacy work. Kenyans are tired of being remembered only when elections loom, tired of watching hundreds of millions poured into one constituency while others are neglected, tired of leaders who treat public resources as campaign tools. All Kalau may have marked a turning point. In Trans Nzoia, Cabinet Secretary Wycliffe Oparanya and Senator Alan Chisang were booed and chased away as residents rejected token handouts and demanded fairness. The message was unmistakable. Keep the goodies. We want dignity, equity, and leaders who serve us every day. We can tie the strings through all of this, because tell me why there's a bio-isolation facility in the first place.